variant. It hasn't quite been released yet, but we have some test results, crash test results that we're going to share with you.
Also, is Rivian stock price crashing through the floor? There's more info on that coming today.
And Nikola, are they releasing hydrogen semi-trucks?
Amazing. Finally, I think the Model Y is about to take over the world. I'm Mark Schaffner.
I'm Pete Gruber. Stay tuned for this and other great stories as we launch our Gruber Morning Show.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. So the Tesla Cybertruck, apparently one person was able to drive this truck, and they were reporting their experience. First of all, it turns out that the tri-motor drivetrain from the Model X Plaid is what some have predicted will be put in this vehicle. Now, Tesla has not confirmed that yet, but at least from this source, it looks like that's the case. And they have not, so they have not confirmed this. They also claimed that the Cybertruck would have bidirectional charging and a 240-volt outlet. So we've got vehicle to grid finally in a Tesla vehicle. That's pretty exciting. And if you're going to use this Cybertruck as a work truck, you're going to have plenty of power available.
Absolutely. You know, first I wanted to talk about the Model X platform a little bit. If this is true, if the rumor ends up being true, that's a smart business move. You know, General Motors, I think it was back in 2021 or maybe even sooner, announced their Ultium drivetrain. And to them, they said, this is the future of electric vehicles. It was a common drivetrain that was to be used on several models of vehicles and eventually would cover virtually the entire General Motors vehicle line, standardizing it. And that Ultium battery platform is used already on several of their electric vehicle offerings. It's even being leased, the intellectual property, to Volkswagen, and they're using it on at least two of their platforms as well. It would make sense if Tesla was going to do the same thing. Take the Model S platform that's really popular and put that into the Cybertruck. Now they're starting to share technology. They're starting to share processes.
So according to the source as well, he said that a guy who was 5'7" tall was able to lay flat in the frunk, not the trunk, but the frunk. That's the front portion of the car.
Okay, who do we have who's 5'7"?
Well, Aaron. All right, there we go. We need to get a Cybertruck so we can see Aaron fit into that truck.
Yeah, I'll be the guinea pig. That's fine.
Aaron could be. Cass could be.
Yeah, Cass.
Cass could. I don't think Cass is more than 5'7".
I am not. I am 5'3".
Okay, there we go.
Easy.
Easy.
Piece of cake. Piece of cake. There was no ramp built into the tailgate, they were saying. The suspension, this particular driver that was able to test drive one of these said it was more comfortable than a Model S or a Model X. He said the turning radius was amazing. Doesn't this thing crab walk or something?
The rear wheels on the Cybertruck are supposed to turn. I don't know if it goes all the way to the point where it can do a true crab walk, which is essentially driving sideways. But it's supposed to have an extremely tight turning radius because the rear wheels will turn in addition to the front.
And the other thing he was saying was that it feels more luxurious than a Model S or a Model X. You know, I have a hard time getting my head around the Cybertruck out on a construction site. You're used to seeing different types of trucks there.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's got its own built-in power supply. Now, granted, most tools today are battery operated, you know, Milwaukee and, you know, even Snap-on and Mac tools. But certain, you know, tools are not quite yet, you know, converted to battery, like a good skill saw, for example.
Right. A good skill saw. DeWalt has a 60 volt that works okay. But I would call it more of a homeowner grade and not a pro grade type of tool in that case. But you're right, air compressors are famous. All those nail guns and things like that, they want air compressor because of that little quarter-inch pneumatic line. With the electric to grid or the output of power, you could potentially run a couple of these air compressors right off of your vehicle.
And you can get pretty large too because it's got a 240 volt output. So, that's a pretty sizable compressor.
Absolutely.
So interesting. This truck is going to potentially be a favorite amongst the construction group.
Want some of those pictures? You have a couple.
Let's bring one up. Well, this is I've got crash pictures, which is our next topic here.
Okay.
So, all right. The next thing that's Cybertruck related is apparently they're starting to do crash testing. So before we get there, it looks like questions and answers and comments are streaming in. Why don't we handle a few of those, and then we'll get into the Cybertruck crash test results.
Yes.
From YouTube, RC Robinson-Sand says, Hyundai joins the Nacs standard. Bloomberg says it's a game changer. Over EVs are the immediate future. Upvoted. Bingo. Thank you.
Yes, and I've got some information on that. Time permitting, we'll get into that because this article came out less than 4 hours ago. So this is breaking news.
Brand new. And then YouTube, Ramon Hurt is back with us. Welcome, Ramon. He says, good morning. Instagram, Palakarandeep says, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Instagram, Glenn_Hardy1. I joined your live session just to let you know I am still working on figuring out how to see what you have on your green wall. Your previous instructions led me nowhere. Later. Instagram doesn't work yet. If you go to Gruber Motors on YouTube, you can see our green screen. And thanks for reminding us, by the way, Glenn, because we did not give you the lowdown on what that new studio behind us is. We try a different one every week. It's artificial intelligence that usually renders these. And this particular one was, give me a new studio 100 years from now. And I was really hoping that we would see some innovative new things that we can't even conceptualize yet. And it looks like a basic new studio today to me.
It really does. And it's very much the same style of new studios that Midjourney's been giving us for a little while. I'm maybe what you need to do this next time, give me a news studio that's unlike anything you've ever given me before, or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see if AI can respond to that. TikTok, Marius Sunday says, wow, talk about the European Cybertruck. He says, Musk said a European version of Cybertruck is highly likely. Well, why not? Yeah.
I think that would be highly likely, and I could see it being a different version than what's in the States because of the profile. Here in the States, in the United States, it's no big deal if a truck is 7 feet wide and if it's 20 feet long. You go to Europe, that can be a real problem.
Yeah, that Hummer could never traverse some of those narrow European streets.
Yeah, although the rear wheels turning with the front wheels like that will definitely help.
All right, YouTube PYGKLB is back with us. Welcome. He says, if someone 5'7" fits in the Cybertruck frunk, then most people can lay across the rear seat comfortably.
I think that would be definitely true. One thing I have to think about, because we've seen pictures of the Cybertruck frunk, and it's 18 inches wide, so somebody could probably lay on their side, get into it. How do they get out?
Well, yeah, okay.
But PYGKLB, you're exactly right. If somebody 5'7" can fit into that frunk, the back seats are going to be pretty wide.
And he also says, would be nice if the rear seats could lay flat like the VW Eurovan.
Yes.
YouTube, Ramon Hurt says, I have my dual motor Cybertruck on pre-order. There are, I think, over 2 million reservations now, right?
We're right at 2 million. The last time I checked, we weren't quite there yet, but we need to check again, because when we did our estimates earlier this summer, we said it would be somewhere around mid-September. Let me see what we can find. Maybe our crack team over here can do a lookup and see where we're at.
So with any of these new vehicle releases, of course, they have to do crash testing, and apparently they just recently did that with the Cybertruck. We've got a picture we can throw up here. Let's do Cybertruck first. Yeah.
I got those Cybertruck ones. I want to show you this Eurovan real quick.
Okay.
Look at how these things lay down.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
You throw a mattress on top of that, and you're comfortable.
Okay, let me pull up the...
Yeah, Cybertruck. So... this is what happens apparently when you crash a Cybertruck into a ditch. Now, a lot of discussion about this, and we'll get into some of the topics here in a moment. But it turns out that they posted this on Twitter, and then it was removed fairly quickly. I don't know why, but probably somebody had some heartache.
I
over
have
this.
a little bit of information on
There you
that. My source in this case is a fairly newcomer, I think. Her name is the EV's Queen. She has a YouTube channel, and she had about a 5-minute video explaining this. The Freightliner that hauls the Cybertruck, the driver posted the video to TikTok, but then they brought it down very quickly. Unfortunately for Tesla, it was archived, and people who saw it were able to quickly get the video, download it, and it made its way into the internet. The one more kind of interesting random trivia fact, so that everybody out here knows that what goes on the internet can go viral very quickly.
Yes.
The driver from the transport company who posted this did so on an account that had 6 followers, that had 2 followers, and it was the 6th video that they had ever posted. Some private individual who had never ever posted anything really did not expect his video to start going viral, and the company had them take it down within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours. I'm just curious how many subscribers he got from that brief exposure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So many thanks to the EV's Queen for that.
Yeah, and so anyway, it turns out that this, it looks like the Cybertruck is not actually built with the revolutionary exoskeleton, as Tesla had claimed, but instead with a unibody frame. Now, bear in mind, this is all anecdotal evidence, nothing substantiated yet, but these are the observations so far. They had said that that the exoskeleton was the supposed reason for the vehicle's unique and often controversial appearance, the shape of the vehicle. Another thing that was revealed in this video is the first real look at the Cybertruck's back seats, which includes an octagonal cup holder and the 8-inch rear screen, which is standard on most Tesla models. And you know what, guys? I don't have a picture of that. We've got a picture of the side here. Let's throw up Cybertruck 2. And if you guys can, in the meantime, look up the electric article. Give them credit, by the way.
I'm saving that image right now.
There is a picture of the inside of the Cybertruck with that rear seat being shown.
So, Jesse, I've saved a WebP image to that directory.
Okay, you want that up now?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Then we can see the what they're describing here.
There we go.
Yeah. So apparently this is the first glimpse inside the rear seat.
Yeah, that's it looks like it's a fairly luxurious truck. I saw one commenter talk about how they thought that the seats were purposely way low so that because you weren't going to have a lot of headroom. I kind of disagree. I don't think those seats are any lower than standard seat height, and it's just the angle of the camera. What I also just can't get away from is the remarkable amount of intactness there is inside that cabin. This looks like it's going to be a really safe car if this is the result of a rollover.
Now, the final results of this crash, how well the Cybertruck held up is inconclusive, and of course, regulators are heavily involved in this. And this is part of the approval process for a new product like this going to market. But the good news here is, at least the observers that have seen this say that this truck does not appear to be totaled. So it looks like it held up fairly well. The other issue that became a fairly hotly debated session in this electric article was repairing this. And as one electric commenter mainstream repair facilities will not touch this. But then he added, he has some credibility apparently, I have been in insurance industry for years. I've been in the insurance industry for years and have had struggles finding Tesla certified repair facilities in our area. When we do find them, the process is usually 3 times the weight and a much higher cost. I'm getting the vibe that this will be kind of a disposable truck when it comes down to major damages. Make sure you have gap insurance.
You know, I was looking at some of the replies to that particular comment because that's one of the most popular comments on the electric site. And the very first comment that was also upvoted almost as much as his was, dude, do you live in some sort of rural spot? I'm not into cars or EVs or anything, so but every auto shop I seem to ever go to has this little Tesla logo that says they're Tesla certified as far as a repair center. So I thought that was an interesting counterpoint to this guy's comment. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of insurance companies early on total Cybertrucks, just like we used to see with water damage Model S's.
Right.
You know, my job as CFO at Gruber is to talk to our insurance agents to help make sure the business insurance is set. One of the agents that I talk to likes to say the phrase, anything that the underwriter doesn't know can always be filled in with premium.
Okay.
You know, the money talks, and unknown risk equals money. So if they don't know anything about the Cybertruck, you might find Cybertrucks get totaled for what would have normally been considered minor damage.
Sure.
They just don't know.
So there may be some bargains at the auction sites when you see a total Cybertruck, at least initially, until the underwriters get properly trained on how to disposition a collision damaged Cybertruck.
Wouldn't that be fun to put into our fleet, a Cybertruck with a little salvage title? We find one and it's been totaled, but then we go in and, it takes us 3 days to fix it and get it back on the road.
It could replace that little golf cart that our guys buzz around between the commercial buildings here with.
Oh, yeah.
All right, very cool. So it looks like we've got some more people chiming in. TikTok, Maria Sunday says, wow, talk about the European Cybertruck. Musk said that, he said a Europe version Cybertruck is highly likely. We already did that.
We did that one. We need to go down to the bottom of the page or have these guys scroll. I think Crater's coming up on YouTube. He says hi.
Welcome. Yes.
Welcome. And then Peter L. on YouTube says, morning, guys. We're on the road today in my son's Tesla, streaming the show on YouTube. Is there an alternative means of streaming the live Gruber Morning Show or live streaming the Gruber Morning Show?
There is. What are all the other platforms, guys? We have so many of them. He's on YouTube. That's
yeah,
probably
I would
the best
say,
one.
stay on YouTube for sure. That's where we have the green screen. All that stuff's active there. I mean, you can watch it anywhere on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, 2 different Twitter accounts or X accounts. Just Instagram is the one that doesn't have the green screen.
And for those of you that can do this, if you can email us a picture of the streaming in your car. We picked up one yesterday.
Yeah.
And if we get a few of those, we'll start using them on our podcasts, for either background or thumbnails. And that was pretty cool. I think the guy that initiated that was Paul Erickson, who showed his shop. He's got an auto shop where he repairs Teslas, and he's got a big flat screen on a wall somewhere. And there we are, Mark and I, while he's in his shop working on those Teslas.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. What we're trying to go for, guys, if we can accomplish it, we would love to see a picture in a picture in a picture in a picture.
That would be cool.
But that's going to take a while to figure out. So
shout out to Scroopy Noopers is the one that started that.
Yeah, it was a cool concept. So a few more here. Crater from YouTube. Why do wheels look better here? No extruded rims.
They can take a look at the wheels on that Cybertruck 2 picture, and you're not seeing the extruded plastic rims on that particular Cybertruck. If you could bring up Cybertruck 2 again, Jesse, on the background, I think that's the one that he's talking about. Yeah, see those particular wheels. Those are not the dark wheels, and they've been mocked a little bit. They come off on the freeway and so on and so forth. These are more of just a flat painted, anodized, high strength aluminum rim, and not the wheels that have the extruded plastic.
This the release of this vehicle, this Cybertruck, is imminent.
Yes.
And people were pointing out that it would be precisely 1 year or 2 years from the date of announcement, November 21st. So that would be an ideal time to release the Cybertruck. Now, if they can get their crash testing data done in time, I'm not sure that they can release until, the regulators have given a blessing.
I'm not sure that on that particular one. I don't know, but I
Well-
have heard rumor that it would be the 21st of November too.
Real quick, guys. Just on a quick Google search, Cybertruck was announced in 2019.
2019.
So that's
okay,
like
4 years, not 2 years.
4 years, okay. And the other thing is crash testing, rolling it into a ditch is not the end of crash testing. There are a variety of collision type tests into concrete barriers, looking at the crumple zones.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that any of that has been done. Of course, Tesla doesn't have to reveal the results of any of that.
Right.
So this may have been going on all along. But this one in the ditch caught a lot of interest.
One thing on the crash tests as well, as long as the vehicle passes at a minimum level, just a certain 1 or 2 crash tests, that vehicle that will then be certified to be roadworthy. The IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, for example, does a lot more rigorous and a lot higher number of crash tests than the National Transportation Safety Board.
Mm-hmm.
And so the NTSB's crash tests are simpler, and those are the ones that they have to pass, not the IIHS ones. The IIHS crash tests are the ones that get into the marketing materials.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it jumps as well, or it comes to mind that since this is a unpainted vehicle, that the collision repair costs may be less. But on the flip side, you can hide a lot of sins on steel if you're going to paint it using filler, body filler, Bondo, that type of thing. So, the jury's out right now as to whether this will be a more expensive vehicle to repair. The DeLorean comes to mind. I mean, that, there was no ability to use filler on that. You actually had to work metal, and they're craftsmen that can actually achieve that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Niels is with us today on YouTube.
Welcome.
And he says, how localized is crash damage to aluminum castings? Do the cracks travel as they do in iron castings? And how do you repair aluminum casting?
That whole issue came to light in one of our earlier podcasts this month, I believe, where we had a report that there were casting cracks from that Giga press. And the customers that took it back to service centers, even shining flashlights through to make sure that the crack went all the way through, were told by the service center that that crack was within spec. And the unresolved question at that point was exactly what you point out, Nils, is, will that crack grow? Is it like a windshield, where it's going to expand and cross over into other areas of the glass?
We've done some repairs before on the subframe of Model S's. When the motor, because of the torque that a Model S motor produces, that subframe can get cracked.
Mm-hmm.
So we know a little bit about the repair process, and it's not particularly easy. You don't just throw a weld on top of the crack and then call it good. You actually have to cut out that crack, put another piece of a cast aluminum into that, and then do a specialized welding process in order to make an appropriate repair.
Yeah, watching our pro welder, Chaz Leitner.
Yeah.
The portion that gets affected on a Tesla Model S drivetrain or on a Model X is extruded aluminum. It's not the cast portions. The cast portions are on the outside of the. It's kind of an odd-shaped thing, very difficult to machine. But on the portion where the actual motor mount resides, with the 2 gussets and the flanges, that is extruded aluminum, and the repair there includes identifying the cracks first of all, cutting a V channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then preheating it, and then doing a TIG weld to fill in that gap and actually build it up. And what we end up doing, we actually improve. Normally on the Teslas, the motor mounts are strictly 90-degree flanges with a hole through, and you get a bolt through that. What we do is we also put a 45-degree gusset and we use thicker aluminum, recognizing that that particular vehicle owner probably likes to do hard launches. And if
Right.
we give them the same product that was on it originally, it isn't going to work out as well.
Well, that triangle is going to be so much stronger than just a 90-degree would ever be. So yeah, I can get that.
All right. YouTube Highlander is joining us. Again, kindness is still free. Thank you for that slogan, Highlander. We always appreciate it. And YouTube Crunch to Grace Hoppers joined us. He said, just finished watching Jay Leno's amazing semi-drive and Rob Maurer's recent jam-packed Tesla Daily. Number 6 from Newport Beach, SoCal, catching up soon from 10 minutes ago. Smash that like button, y'all. Thank you for
Thanks.
And just to give you an idea of how effective it is, to remind the audience to like, after he had stated, to smash that like button, we went from 6 to 12 in a matter of 30 to 45 seconds.
Really? Okay, so it is
Yep.
highly effective. Thank you.
It is.
Yeah. TikTok Scuba Dude says, shared the live video. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Instagram Ali Claude gives us 3 thumbs up. Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, very welcome. So, what are the 5 top EV trucks? And here's an article that lists them and it ranks them in order. Right now, the number 1 EV truck is Ford's F-150 Lightning. And they say Landing Kelly's Blue Book's best e-truck of 2023, Ford's F-150 Lightning has a starting price of $49,995 and extends to $91,995. Of course, it depends on what dealer you go to and whether
Yeah.
they jack that price up because they realize there's a shortage of product. What was it? One of our customers was telling us they were quoted like over $20,000 over MSRP.
That was Aaron was looking into them too.
Aaron, yeah, that's right.
I when we were looking for electric vehicles about a year ago, my wife and I, because we wanted to replace our Kia Soul EV, the Ford Lightning was absolutely on the list.
Mhm.
And as was the Mustang Mach-E and as were a couple of others. The Ford dealers around town, most of them had between 10 and 20,000 markup from MSRP.
Mhm.
And I basically made a mental note of, okay, I'll never go there, I'll never go there, I'll never go there. But yes, it was pretty common here in the Phoenix metro area.
And the question is, why do they do that? The answer is because they can.
That's right.
And that's the reason that Elon decided, I don't need dealers. We're going to go factory direct.
Yeah, I know. I'll have more comments on the factory direct as we go through our articles.
Okay. The second one was ranked, it was Rivian's R1T. Now, you had a stock update on Rivian. Maybe it's a good time to insert that.
This would be a good time to insert. Rivian stock is down 20% just today.
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah. I feel for the friend that we have. We have a mutual friend that gave us a stock tip and said Rivian is where it's at. I'm gonna put my money into Rivian. We're thinking, man, I hope you didn't put it in last week.
Yeah, I seem to remember Pete passing that tip on to me.
It was actually last week because the delivery guidance was reportedly going to exceed Wall Street's expectation. And it did spike a bit last week as a result of that.
It did just a little bit. What's going on today with Rivian, and it's actually affecting all of the main electric vehicle stocks, is that the company announced yesterday that they were going to issue $1.5 billion worth of convertible bonds. That's caused the stock so far today, through about a half hour ago, to be down close to 20%. The drop does seem to be affecting other EV stocks. Lucid was down 8%. Tesla was down about 2%. Fisker was also down about 8%. They have the unfortunate negative halo effect in that case. Now, I wanted to make sure our audience knows too, what are convertible bonds? Because a bond is debt, stock is ownership. So why would a convertible bond cause this kind of a drop? Well, a convertible bond is debt, but Rivian has the option to convert that bond into stock instead of paying back the bondholders if they so choose. So $1.5 billion is huge as far as Rivian's concerned, because that's a significant percentage increase of the stocks that they have out there. Right now, their capitalization is only somewhere in that 10 billion or a little bit less range. So we're talking maybe 20 to 30% more stock flooding the market suddenly. But when you have all kinds of demand and you don't have this, all kinds of supply and don't have the demand for it, your price is going to tank. This particular case is one where Rivian will have the chance to convert these bonds into stock if they do so by 2030. If the 2030 expiration date passes and Rivian has chosen to pay the bonds back instead of converting them to stock, then they will no longer have a chance to do so after that point in time.
Interesting. So there's some dilution taking place, which is freaking out the investors. And like you said
Pretty much.
earlier, in a marina, when tide comes and goes, all the boats float at the same level.
That's right. The boats all rise or the boats all sink. And so when you look at your Lucid stock or your Tesla stock and wonder why it's down, it's because of Rivian.
Yeah. So number 2 truck, EV truck, is Rivian R1T, and they start at $73,000. This article says it has a low center of gravity for rollover resistance. It also is fortified with aluminum alloy, ultra-high strength steel, and carbon fiber materials for enhanced safety. Well, there you have it. The third most popular truck, EV truck, is General Motors' 2023 GMC Hummer. They're all-electric pickup truck. And they said that a few years ago, this iconic Hummer went electric and received one of the EV industry's biggest battery packs. That's why the GMC Hummer EV pickup can reach 60 miles, 0 to 60, in 3.3 seconds.
Do you remember some of the backlash that people had to the Hummer coming out? Environmentalists were saying, oh my gosh, we're taking the excesses of the United States and we're converting them into electric vehicles now. You could make 5 EVs with smaller battery packs for the same cost that you're taking to make one behemoth EV and put it into a single battery pack.
I do remember that, yes.
You know, and it's they weren't wrong, but they missed the market.
And the question was, why do you need a military vehicle to go and buy a gallon of milk?
That's right.
So the vehicle, by the way, this Hummer starts at $87,000. Then Stellantis is number 4 with their 2025 Ram 1500 REV. And, Stellantis is a multinational constellation of brands which comprises Dodge, Ram, Jeep, Chrysler, Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Peugeot, Citroën, and others unnamed.
I did not know that Stellantis was quite that big. It doesn't that feel like you're the big corporate conglomerate coming in to just eat up all the little guys?
It does, yeah. And it's historically, that's not uncommon.
No, but is it uncommon that one of our big 3 automakers would be one of those little guys?
Would be gobbled up by them?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that is noteworthy. You know, I love Dodge. I'm a Mopar guy, and it's embarrassing.
Yes.
That they weren't able to survive on their own. So anyway, they say about this Ram 1500 REV, it is set to debut in late 2024. It is zero emission, all electric. It has 2 range options, a standard 168 kilowatt per hour battery pack with a projected 350 mile range, or a 229 kilowatt per hour battery pack with 500 mile range.
If I can convince my wife, that's going to be my next pickup truck, either that or the Lightning.
And for this month, or at least this the remaining part of this year, Tesla's Cybertruck is number 5 on this list. We'll see how quickly it rises up and potentially becomes number 1 on this list. And the article here says Tesla's Angular e-truck, also known as the Cybertruck, has attracted much attention. Boy, has it ever. That's an understatement, right? Right from the very get-go during the launch, a lot of attention. It's Tesla armor glass and cold rolled stainless steel structural skin give the vehicle unmatched protection. Well, we're going to find that out with the results of these crash tests, which are going on right now. They say the Cybertruck can handle 3,500 pounds of payload. It has a towing capacity of 14,000 pounds. It also boasts 100 cubic feet of exterior lockable storage, including beneath the bed, and in the sail pillar, and in the frunk. The truck is estimated to have a 500-mile range and a starting price of $60,000. The vehicle will come in 2 versions powered by 1, 2, and 3 motors. The single motor can reach 110 miles an hour, while the tri-motor will be able to go to a top speed of 130 miles an hour. It's kind of daunting to get a pickup truck up to 130 miles an hour, but, you know.
Yeah. Well, when you get to those kind of speeds, when you're up 100 miles an hour to 130, man, you just hope that you don't have a tire blowout or something like that. That generates so much heat, and that's so hard on those tires, especially the bigger tires that are on pickup trucks like that.
Mm-hmm. And of course, in traditional pickup trucks where you have an open bed at 130 miles an hour, your stuff's probably flying out the bed.
Oh,
at those
yeah.
Speeds. They did not rank it, but they also talked about the Tesla Semi Class 8 electric truck. They say that this Class 8 electric truck is still somewhat mysterious. However, Pepsi's significant purchase agreement revealed some exciting specs for the zero-emission transportation vehicle.
You know, and I know we're, as we get into the Nikola Class 8 trucks as well, there's very interesting information on those Class 8 trucks.
Mm-hmm. Looks like some more questions coming in. Nils says, that sounds scary. If a part of a cast is damaged, can one replace the subcast part? And how is this done? Can one weld Tesla aluminum castings? I know that the procedure for welding iron castings is nickel type welding rods and preheating. I'm not sure that if you can do that. We'll have to ask Chaz if you can weld a cast aluminum part.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
You know what? I did ask him that. Come to think of it, a year ago when I bought that replacement Bridgeport mill.
Yeah.
The cast aluminum portion that holds the monitor off to the side was cracked and it was broken in half. And I said, Chaz, I just got that TIG welder. Can I just weld this thing up? He says, no, it's a special process, and it may or may not be successful. So he had some doubts about the ability to weld cast aluminum.
But he did say it's a special process. So not that it's impossible, just that it's even more difficult than TIG welding aluminum is to start with.
And the question is, will the average body shop, who already has a daunting challenge attempting to repair aluminum type cars like the Tesla Model S, special certifications, special equipment and tools, will that make it even more complex, and will that reduce the number of body shop options available for the customers?
I definitely think it will.
You know, while looking at you, I'm looking over there, and there's a four-eyed guy over there that is waiting to
next
do
question.
What's the next question? Well, let's read it first. All right.
Highlander says, we can't forget the sunglass holders gang.
Well, before we switch over here, Jesse. Oh, no. Pete, let's go ahead and give a commercial interjection announcement.
Okay. And now we're going to talk about the sunglass holders. And for that presentation, I introduce Richard Beach.
Hello. This broadcast is brought to you by Gruber Motor Company Sunglass Holders. Have you ever wanted to store your sunglass holders or sunglasses in a holder that is made of genuine leather and custom engraved? Well, we've got the solution for you. This is a genuine handmade leather sunglass holder. It's available for $79.99 on the Gruber Motor Company website, but you get 10% off if you use code Richard.
And it's custom engraved.
And he's got Cass pantomiming him now. They're doing cross training back there. So the future is Cass doing these commercials. Thanks, guys. All right. Instagram, Ali_Claude says, Tesla car is the best. Thumbs up. There you go. Yes, in the world of EVs, we are enjoying our Teslas.
Definitely. Niels on YouTube says, when it comes to the stock prices, remember the put options. You can always put a safety net under the stock for about 5 to 8% premium, depending on the expiration date and the strike price, of course.
Right.
Yes, that's very true, Niels. And I'm not something that I want to get a lot into here because we're not a finance podcast, but you are exactly right. You can have put and get options on your stocks like that.
So, quick story here for you, Nils. In the 1970s is when I first got into stock trading, and I quickly became pretty cocky and pretty aggressive in my investment strategies. And, things like going long, going short. And at one point, recognizing that the stock that I was mostly invested in at the time, Digital Equipment Corporation, was pretty volatile, and it would bounce up and down, very much like Tesla, actually.
Sure.
And I decided I'm going to do a straddle position and take both positions and then hope that I can ratchet in and out properly. Well, it didn't work out that well. A combination of fear and greed prevented me from making wise decisions. You're always holding out for the maximum amount, or you're terrified, and you bail too soon. But yeah,
so you were literally buying high and selling low.
Yeah, or trying to. Yeah, well, and doing both at the same time.
Yes.
And whenever you're out of one position is when you have your vulnerability.
Yes.
You can either make money or lose money at that point in time.
Yes, and it's you're supposed to buy low and sell high, but yeah.
And I do not recommend it if you like sleeping good at night.
Yeah, you've got it's almost like gambling.
Oh, it is totally. Yeah, and when you get margin calls, those are the worst because they will liquidate your position, and you have no choice at that point. What gets liquidated because they're trying to restore the parity or the balance.
Right.
And I went through a few of those too. So, yeah, these days I'm a very cautious investor. Let's put it that way.
Crater has a comment here, and I think it's going to lead into another article I want to talk about. He says, "Seems like Rivian belongs to the banks now." And while I think that may be true, I think that Rivian. I'm still hugely bullish on Rivian. The article came out. There are a number of articles that have come out because R.J. Scaringe, the CEO of Rivian, caused quite a stir in the electric vehicle press this week when, in an interview with CNBC's Squawk Box, he outlined the steps that the car maker needs to take and is planning on taking to become profitable. The notable thing that he said is that they think they can be profitable by the end of 2024.
Amazing.
Which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
about 2 years or maybe more beyond, less than what most analysts have said. If I can have Jesse pull up the graph that's Rivian price per vehicle or cost per vehicle. Rivian's per vehicle loss is still pretty significant. This graph, which was on Squawk Box, I want to give proper attribution for this. You can see it went from $139,000 per vehicle in 2022 quarter three. Within 12 months, the quarter two of 2023, it was at $32,500. Quarter three of 2023, where their most recent results are coming out, is roughly $30,000 as well. If Rivian can continue this rate of decline in per vehicle costs, it means that they're manufacturing more. Their fixed costs are staying fixed. Their variable costs, which are less than the price of the vehicle, are staying with per vehicle, but they're getting more cars out, and they're going to hit that profitability. Now, in my opinion, Rivian is probably the leading contender at this point in time to become the next profitable EV company. Lithium prices have dropped significantly, 25-30% this year, where Tesla has taken that and has used it to create a price war and dropping their EV prices. Rivian has simply taken the money and turned that into a lot lower losses than they would have had otherwise. Also, Rivian's addressable markets. Now, an addressable market is the size of the dollars that are spent in a particular market segment. For example, pickup trucks. The addressable market in pickup trucks in 2023 is about $186 billion. In SUVs, $310 billion. Contrast that with luxury sedans, which is where Lucid's main market is and where much of Tesla's market was in the early years. That's about $20 billion. And then even delivery vans, which Rivian is alone in, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a Tesla delivery van or a Lucid delivery van on the books. Nikola, not really. They have the big trucks. They don't have the delivery vans. Rivian's the only one in that space. That by itself is also an $18 billion space.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon's in the process of converting all their delivery vans to Rivian.
By the way, guys, I saw one. I saw one yesterday on the way to Chandler. I saw a Rivian van, and then I saw an Amazon one. They're the same van that Rivian uses for their mobile service is what they're using for Amazon. I saw both of them on the road day before yesterday.
They're getting more common. I actually see them fairly often down along that South 202 in the south end of Phoenix where I live. Rivian's production's ramping up. Their costs are going down. They've got an R2 line that they've teased and will be announcing by the beginning of this next year. The R2 line is supposed to be basically an economy version pickup truck and SUV, where these are going to continue to be their top of the line. And RJ Scaringe says sales are strong. Demand is still through the roof. It's well beyond what they can produce right now. So I'm bullish. I think there's a really good chance that Rivian's going to be able to have profits by the end of 2024. The day they have profits, I think the Rivian stock is going to do like the Tesla stock did. Tesla for years was between $20 and about $60. Then they announced a profitable quarter, and they went from $60 to $200. Then they announced another profitable quarter after that, and they went from like 200 to 450. I think Rivian will be doing the same thing.
Well, something comes to mind here, and it's an old stock market cliche. Does that mean that today we need to buy the dip?
That's very possible.
Because there's a bounce.
Very possible.
Yeah.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, not financial, but we'll talk about it at the next podcast and see if that prediction.
Rivian also just announced their longer range too.
Mm-hmm. By the way, if you guys want to get a Rivian overload, 1.5 miles east of here is a Rivian sales and service center.
Mm-hmm.
And after a photo shoot that I did over there, where we usually take the Roadsters to get them ready for sale, right, for the customers, I stopped there. In fact, it was JB's car.
Okay, yeah.
And I pulled this Tesla Roadster out in front of this, the Rivian office space. And sure enough, the eyes were all, by the windows looking out at this Tesla car, right? And lots of Rivians there. And then about a week ago, on my way home, taking a right on a 7th Street, there was a Rivian pickup truck in front of me.
Okay.
And he must have seen me in the back, because the next thing he does is he takes a right and he floors that thing. And it just quietly pulled away from that Tesla Roadster. So, we do have them in the neighborhood, and we should probably take our social media team over there and do some videos.
Well, so we went over there, and Max went over there one time too,
Mm-hmm.
and they got the security guards wouldn't let us in, unfortunately, but we can go outside and film the building.
Yeah, the building, I walked right in the office space, and, they know who we are, by the way. They see a lot of Teslas around here, and they realize who we are and what we do. By the way, one of the things that we wanted to do was start giving credit to some of these reporters that are, doing great work finding these articles. This one is by Joey Klender, and he posted this October 3rd, and it was, forget the headline here, but he says, Tesla's launch of the Model Y rear-wheel drive comes at perhaps the worst time for legacy automotive companies. It is affordable, and it is comparable to similar models from the other competitors. And perhaps, his opinion is, the final nail in the coffin, especially for the U.S. auto market, as it is an affordable car that features some of the best add-ons that an EV buyer could need.
When he said it's affordable and all that, I thought, well, okay, how affordable is this really? And so I did a quick comparison. First, I looked at the Model Y. The Model Y starting price is about $43,000. However, the Model Y obviously is eligible for the federal tax credit of $7,500. So I said, okay, fine. That means the base price of a Model Y is going to be $36,490, $36,500, right in that range. So regardless of engine type, what's the highest rated, most popular small, compact crossover / SUV out there in the marketplace? I found 3. Honda leads the pack with the CRV, and that is a very popular crossover SUV. Has been for probably 12 or 13 years. The Kia and Toyota, the Toyota RAV4 and the Kia Sportage are similar. They're compact crossover SUVs, very popular in the marketplace. These 3 SUVs probably are the market leaders. The Model Y is the same price as the CRV EXL, which is their high-end ICE-only motor, but it's also equivalent to about the Sport Hybrid, which means that the Model Y is at the low end of the hybrid price on the CRV. It's just about in the middle of the overall CRV price. And now comes my little rant time. These prices that these manufacturers are advertising, and they even make their way into places like Kelley Blue Book, don't include dealer markup, dealer prep fee, destination fee, blah, 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 blah. The actual fee or the actual price that's advertised in these articles for these ICE vehicles, you will never find. The price that you will find on the ICE vehicles, even at MSRP, is going to be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 higher than what's advertised. So when I see that the EXL CRV is priced at $33,500, it's not. It's priced at $36,000. And so that means the Model Y, which is at $36,500, is roughly the same price. And the same is holding true for these other brands. Tesla has moved their Model Y into the exact same price range as the other brands of ICE vehicles. So it is directly competing now in price as well as its features with the ICE vehicles. And I can tell you for sure, if we had waited for a year to buy an EV to replace our Kia Soul, we would not have bought a Volvo. We love our Volvo, by the way. It's a fantastic car, but we would have bought a Model Y. That's what my wife wanted.
Interesting. Yeah. A little bit late. Well, anyway, Joey says last night Tesla launched the Model Y rear-wheel drive on its website. And with federal and local incentives, it could cost buyers under $31,000 as it qualifies for the full EV tax credit from the government. And then he says packing the lithium iron phosphate type pack in this car, which Tesla now has brought out its most popular car to an affordable level with reasonable range ratings and more than acceptable performance metrics.
Yeah, that $30,000, I had to look that up a little bit. California has their own state level tax credit, and it can be as much as the federal level tax credit.
Is that right?
And in most cases is not, but it has in the past been that high. And so if you could combine the federal $7,500 and the state of California tax credit, you could end up in a brand new Model Y for $31,000.
Fascinating. So that is the story from Joey Klender on the Model Y. Now, remember, this LFP pack, or the lithium iron phosphate pack, does not have the combustion or the thermal event risks that a lithium ion pack does. And it can also charge to 100%.
Every time.
Every time, right.
And it has no cobalt in it.
No cobalt, okay.
Uses a different membrane or something like that.
Yeah. The battery chemistries continue to improve. The prices keep coming down, which is exactly what we anticipated because of demand. It creates innovation.
By all means. YouTube, Ramon Hurt says they haven't sold many Hummer EVs. These top car lists are a joke. Just look at the e-tron. It won Car of the Year a couple years ago. Look at where it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, these are opinions at best.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Highlander on YouTube says that Hummer is a true joke.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. TikTok. Truck Guy 512, he says, but can you put a ladder rack on it? And how about the Salter unit on the back, or the Sailor unit on the back? Salter
Maybe
unit
salter for like salting roads in the winter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that's right.
asking about snow plowing too in the next one.
I forget there are parts of the country that have to have that. I've been living here too long.
Well, there's a point there though. Your Cybertruck, the roof of the Cybertruck is a triangle. How are you going to put a ladder rack on the triangle?
Right.
You're pretty much not.
They had some aftermarket stuff at the lithium plant that they did they had a rack on the back of the Cybertruck that Elon pulled up on. I would imagine there's going to be aftermarket stuff to come out to where you can put ladder racks on there. Even in the front, you could put a snow plow hitch or something. In fact, actually, it might even be better with all the new technology in that Cybertruck. So,
A good point. That's an excellent point.
YouTube Crater says, why does Tesla's home charging station look like a boiler?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know.
All right, we'll have to wait for an answer for that one. And then YouTube, Ryan McGee says, how are the Chinese Teslas? Yes, we always talk about those at our podcasts. The second one is complete at this point. We are expecting a PPF expert to come in and look at the first two that we've pulled out. The first one, the PPF is cracked and hardened. The adhesive looks like it may have bonded with the clear coat. All of the rodent damage has been identified, cleaned up. We have not yet repaired the wiring harnesses in the first one, VIN 11.7. Number two, which is a very orange, VIN 11.20, also has some of this PPF cracking and damage, but the adhesive appears to still have some stickiness. What we're hoping is that a chemical removal process is all that's required for that, because if the adhesive in the PPF has hardened, it is crystallized and bonded with a clear coat, then you have a repaint issue.
Right.
The third Roadster is coming out either later this week, tomorrow, or first part of next week, and then all three of them will be in the service center. The typical procedure we go through with these is we do a full inspection, both on the ground. We then we will wake up the 12 volts. We tap into the firmware, into the computer. We get telemetry and data. We get log files. We back up the VMS, the firmware. And then from that, we can extrapolate things like how many real miles are on that odometer. So far, we've got 109 miles on the first Roadster, 104 miles on the second Roadster, and we expect it to be the same on the third Roadster. And what is still the big mystery is we're hoping that that last Roadster will have had the service plug pulled so we can finally put to bed the question, what will happen to 18650 cells that were put in a coma 13 years ago? Will they have any life left in them?
Yeah, I really hope that that's the case, although I'm not keeping my hopes up too much. I'm not optimistic at all.
We got 2 out of 3 so far.
And you said that the orange Roadster had far less rodent damage overall than the red one, correct?
Right. The for some reason they did not like the wiring harness insulation in the second Roadster, but there was some sign of rodent residue. Let's put it that way: discharge and residue. So the third one will be interesting. And I think this whole thing with the rodents has also a lot to do with what were their access points. Was there a Tom and Jerry hole in the baseboard that the rodent could get in and out of for those 13 years? So maybe the last one we pull out will show no signs of any rodent activity whatsoever.
It's possible, and we won't know. We don't have access to the original containers because those were left in China. These cars were put into new containers before they came over. The belief was that the 13-year-old containers simply weren't going to be seaworthy in order to get all the way back to the United States.
Correct.
Real quick, before we move on to the next one, I just want to let everybody know that your questions are queued, and we are working on getting to them. We've got an individual on TikTok asking why we're not answering. Your questions are in the queue.
Okay, well, we'll keep on going with questions then. For those of you interested in getting updates, go to our website under Roadsters for Sale. And about 6 or so down, you'll see the 3 Chinese Roadsters. And in the description, we're keeping a pretty good chronology of events. Still need to update some of the pictures, but that's where you can get information. And by the way, talking about Roadsters for sale, there seems to be a uptick in the amount of Roadsters available for sale during this period.
Interesting.
We're not sure why, but if you're looking for a Roadster, this is a great time to get serious about that, because with this excess inventory, prices aren't great right now for the sellers. In fact, Bring a Trailer sold an R80 pack Roadster. It means a $30,000 upgrade Roadster, fully functional, for $84,500 2 weeks ago, which is way below market.
Yeah, that's crazy low, especially to have that new battery pack. You like to say the battery pack itself has been traditionally worth about $30,000 of the price. And so if a car that is going for $85,000 just got that $30,000 battery pack, then that means the car itself sold for about $55,000.
Yeah. And you know what you see here, we have 5 more Roadsters in process that will be listed soon. I think 2 of them by the end of this week. Is that right, Richard? We're going to be able to do that?
Yeah, so we've got one that's ready to be posted right now, and then the other ones are being worked on.
Okay. One is in Canada, by the way. Sometimes location is important as well.
Yes.
And if you look at the top one there, that is a wrapped Roadster. It's got a really cool wrap. It was a company that made bows and arrows. And if you go, there we go. We got a little bit better shot there.
Yeah, Easton is a very, very well-known sports company. They make baseball bats, football, a whole bunch of equipment. The gentleman who drove that was an Olympic athlete who competed in archery.
It sounds like this could be a collectible car, and if you don't like the wrap, you peel it off and you end up with a sterling silver Roadster. And the seller is willing to accommodate the buyer and remove it if you so choose.
And real quick, I didn't know what a what a ladder rack was, so I looked those up. So these things, I don't see how these would go unless they're like Aaron was saying, custom aftermarket. But I remember my dad used to have one of these on his truck.
Yeah, well, it's not just ladders. They carry pipe, they carry conduit, they carry even wheelbarrows, if they're working concrete. But, that's one of the reasons the Cybertruck in construction is going to be a challenge.
And Jesse, I'll phrase this kind of carefully, but if you're driving along the 202 in South, in either South Phoenix or Ahwatukee or whatever, and it's a weekend, you'll see these pickup trucks. Usually they're smaller. They're Mavericks, Rangers, the Chevy Colorado or Chevy S10. Yeah. And they'll have racks like this on it, and they've obviously been going to yard sales because the truck itself is stacked. And with the contents in the cargo area, probably 15, 16 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Whoever has been shopping, let's just say they're serious about their stuff when they go to buy their stuff.
That reminds me of something I saw on the road yesterday. I was driving, turning right onto 7th Street, and turning left onto 7th Street across the road for me was a Prius with a fridge on top.
Oh, no way.
And there were 2 gentlemen, one driving and the one in the passenger, who had their hands up top. I didn't see any straps.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't. I was across the street. I hope they had something, but I swear to you, I saw them both smirking while holding onto that.
The phrase, where's a cop when you need one, comes to mind at that point. YouTube Highlander, he says, a Bridgeport is my favorite machine tool. You and me both, Highlander. The lathe ranks up there too, but you can do so much with a Bridgeport. Mine is manual at this point because I bought it without the electronics. I got to get Nick to get my computer running for that. Then I can program it, and then the XY, portions are then motorized. Right now I'm cranking like this. YouTube Crater, I like the blue glasses. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. TikTok, Truck Guy 512. He said, let's put this pickup to real tests. Can you snowplow with an EV? Just curious. I just retired truck mechanic here. That's a great question. I grew up in the northern U.S., northern Idaho, about 100 miles south of the Canada border, and in Alaska. And that's the simple stuff like can you drop a plow onto the front of the truck and have it do the work that it needs to do.
Yeah.
I would say with the Lightning, with the new Silverado, with the Stellantis, not a problem. They're going to have the mounts. It's like they're ICE vehicles that have had an EV powertrain put into them. With a Cybertruck, I don't know. I would assume so. It's heavy duty enough.
Well, the thing that comes to mind is ground clearance, first of all, the right tires, and the weight that you have. You've got a very low center of gravity, so all those things are going for you. And then finally, these EVs are four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, virtually all of them are. The only downside that you might have is if it's cold enough to be plowing snow and you're not preconditioning that battery, keeping your vehicle plugged in, you're not going to have the miles that you would have in a 70-degree or 80-degree environment.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, EVs have exponentially more power, right? So they're going to be able to get through things a lot easier than a normal ICE vehicle. A, they weigh more, and B, the tow capacity and just the power in them is eons above, a normal F-150.
So picture this, guys, because I don't know if any of you here have lived in the north for any significant portion of your life. In a regular, I'll just say you have an F-250, heavy duty. You have a snowplow on the front. You're plowing out the parking lot, and you hit one of those infernal speed bumps.
Mm-hmm.
So in an F-250, it's gonna stop. You're gonna rattle. You're gonna curse. And you know to go slow on the next speed bump. If you got a Cybertruck or if you have a Ford Lightning and the kind of horsepower that these things have, you'll still rattle, but what you might be doing is either tearing the blade off the front of the truck or tearing the speed bump off the pavement.
I had a Jeep CJ5, and it was the last year I lived in New York, and it was my dream because I lived out in the country, and
sure.
we were shoveling constantly. Finally got a Jeep CJ5 with a plow on the front, and I thought, boy, my problems are solved. That was the lightest winter since I lived there. I got 4 inches of snow or 6 inches or something one day, and that was about it. But my plow actually would fold down when it hit an obstruction. It was spring-loaded.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But, yeah, cool stuff, huh?
Very, very much. Instagram, Mark Lambros says, any tips on fixing or replacing a Model S sunroof motor?
They're a pain in the butt. I'll tell you that, right? That track, that guide. What some people end up doing, they actually they have a glass guy come in to remove the rear glass right behind the moonroof.
Okay.
But it can be done without that. Yeah, it took us a long time. Remember, all of our skills were developed OJT, and that's a tough way to go when you've got a tough repair like that.
I had somebody ask me recently on their Model S. They said, yeah, I have my sunroof will open, but it stops. It seems like it bogs down and stops at about 50% or so. What do I do to fix that?
Well, it will bind, and what our guys do is they actually take the mechanism apart.
Okay.
And it could be a number of things. It could be something wedged in there. It could be a broken casting, and it's not a strong device. It's
right.
I think cast aluminum is one part of it, which will break. But yeah, my heart goes out to you. It is not an easy repair. It's one of those things that you might want to just take the Tesla because they've gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah. Niels also has a comment for you, Pete. He says, yes, Pete. And those pesky options writers. So this is about the stocks.
Yeah.
He says the pesky options writers always look at the interest and then keep the stock in the range that maximizes their own profit and minimizes the gain of their adversaries.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and they're the house. You're gambling, they're the house.
I find it humorous when you hear, business owners, like even Elon, for example, that get that are indignant or angry at the short sellers. It's an investment strategy.
Right.
It's you can't personalize it. I remember when I worked at Digital, everybody had, of course, DEX stock, or they had DEX stock because we're employees, and we, and some of them even had options. And I remember, the stock had gone down quite a bit, and everybody was lamenting that. And I came and I said, "Oh man, this is great," because I had short positions. I wasn't very popular that month.
Oh, yes. On Instagram, Ali Claude says, "Excuse me, I had a question. What's Tesla's program about solid-state batteries?"
Well, Tesla doesn't share much of their R&D progress with the community or with the world at large, and rightfully so. I mean, they're working on pretty specialized projects all the time. They have made a number of changes from going from 18650 cells to 2170 cells to 4680 cells. Now they've got the LFP cell. I have no idea what they're doing with the newer chemistries and the newer technologies, sodium ion, graphene batteries. But I guarantee you they're not ignoring it. There's a lot of thought put into it and a lot of R&D work being done behind the scenes.
Oh, Peter, I got a question for you guys about that. So for both of you guys, actually, I was told a story, I'm not sure by who at this point, but there was an old data storage company back in the day that their research and development department created flash memory, right? But that they shelved that technology for 10 years because they still had millions of dollars worth of tape storage.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a possibility that we'll see now that they have these LFP batteries and they're building all of this lithium refining and all this is happening for lithium? Do you think we'll still be with lithium for a while, even though these other technologies are coming out?
My personal take on it is although those stories are entertaining and thought-provoking, I don't think they're real. I don't think that a company that develops a new technology is going to withhold that in favor of continuing to sell their old technology product because of the risks that the rest of the market is going to pick this up and take their market share. I think it's far more important for a producer manufacturer to seize that new technology and attempt to gain a foothold early on rather than be worried about, is it going to affect our market share?
Yeah, I think of the story of Kodak cameras because they were one of the pioneers of the digital camera as early as the late 60s and early 70s. And no, they are not the ones known for digital cameras. They had a chance to be the market leader, but their business leadership said, "We don't make cameras, we make film. Why would we go into making a camera?" So they made a mistake. They suppressed their knowledge, but the way that the reason they suppressed their knowledge wasn't because, "Oh, this is cool, we need to suppress this." It was, "Yeah, it's not going to ever amount to anything. We're going to just continue to do what we do." And so they were ignorant and made a really poorly informed decision.
Yeah, which is astonishing, by the way, because these companies aren't a handful of individuals. You've got, Kodak had a couple 100,000 people in its heyday.
Yeah.
I know that because I lived in Rochester, New York, and everybody worked for Kodak once you got your dream job. They missed the point that it was no longer about film, that the camera became the film.
But how does Tesla, if they have all of their production based in lithium ion and all of a sudden some kind of graphene comes out, how do they afford to completely change all of their production instantly overnight like that?
I do think, to answer your question a little more directly, Jesse, that lithium is going to be around for a long time. If you look at not just EVs, but battery technology in general, batteries from the time the current Voltaire lead-acid battery was invented in the 1850s, I think, up until the late 1960s, early 1970s, batteries were lead and acid. Alkaline batteries were a mid-20th century invention. The battery inventions did not move forward at all for almost 100 years, and then very slowly after that. Lithium, the idea of using lithium and the energy density of lithium was noticed and began to be taken advantage of in a lab environment in the early 80s, and then by the 90s, lithium ions or lithium cells were starting to replace alkaline cells. Okay, that means that lithium is already a 30-plus-year-old technology. there's cool technologies on the horizon, but just because they're on the horizon doesn't mean that everything else goes away instantly. I still have alkaline batteries that I buy at the store every day.
Yeah,
Sure.
So there's gonna be a transition time.
So it's going to be a transition, and that transition might be a long time.
And, the other thing to consider there is you don't reach scale instantly. And if you have, something as large as Tesla, where you have a constant stream of product that have to, enter the market, you're not going to be able to abruptly overnight shift to a new technology, because it may change the cost structure. It may raise the prices in order to remain competitive and to maintain market share. They will introduce it, of course, and once they reach some scale based on volume, and then you have this massive transition with production, processes, tooling, equipment. A lot of that infrastructure now has to be changed oftentimes with these technologies. So, like you said, it is a transition, and
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting because of all the trucks we were mentioning earlier, and we're all talking about these new lithium-ion ranges getting up to 300, 400, 500 finally.
Yeah.
But then you have Amprius that's claiming 1,000,
Yeah.
right? But it's probably going to be 10 years before we see that.
Right.
Bunch of questions. Let's try getting through some of these. PYG KLB. I thought Ford had an electric transit van.
PYG KLB is correct. I looked that up while we were going through other stuff. Ford did put out the Ford Transit Electric in 2022. So I'm not sure I would call it quite the same as the Rivian van, but it is pretty close. So
Okay.
I stand corrected there.
Highlander, he says someone is helping Rivian. Nils is chiming in again. He says, I too have a couple of bad beat stock stories, but they were so bad they're not suitable for posting. He feels like I do with some of my investment mistakes. Ramon Hurt from YouTube, he says, Tesla stock exploded after the Giga Shanghai was built. I think Rivian is doing good, but doubt that the stock price will go up in that same way.
That's your speculation is as good as ours, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
You may be right, and we just don't know.
So then YouTube, Highlander says, Rivian vans, absolutely, they're everywhere here in Jeep country. I offered to work on them, and they said no. We have an on-site review maintenance technician. Well, I assure you that their service delivery is not going to be able to keep up with with the demand for their vehicles, and once they ramp production.
I'm looking forward to seeing us expand into different brands once they start coming off a warranty. And I think I would not be surprised if Rivian is one of those brands.
TikTok, Truck Guy 512 says, Edison Motors, thoughts, question mark? Do you know who that is? Yeah, we know who they are. We've got to get them on our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Sandy was just up there, actually.
Yeah.
And he was standing in front of this big diesel truck, looked like a Peterbilt, but then it had some handles on it that you would find in a residential, setting.
Okay.
And so Sandy pointed out, well, this looks like a prototype. And they said, well, kind of, but they talked about the electric drivetrain and for, some time, and then finally admitted, and there's a diesel underneath that hood. And what's that for? Sandy said, and you could tell the enthusiasm just drain as they said that. Well, it's because when we're going up hills and down hills, and you got regen on the way down, there was a good explanation for it. But those guys are innovators, they're experimenters, and they're having lots of fun. If you take a look at their setting, they're up there in the North Woods, and they're driving big rigs, and they're hauling large timber and
logging.
Yeah, lots of fun. We're going to get them on a podcast here. We're going to have an interview with them.
Yes. Ramon Hurd on YouTube says, how much would be adding nitrogen in the tires add to Tesla's margins?
Well, I don't know. I can't comment on that.
I don't know. Then Highlander on YouTube says, nitrogen, yes. We used it on Alice Chalmers' farm tractor. That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
YouTube, PYGKLB, Zack and Jesse from the Now You Know have an F-150 Lightning and wanted to put it on a snowplow. He says the lack of front end frame limited them to a blade on the trailer hitch.
Well, that's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, some frame changes or reinforcement would definitely be necessary, I would imagine.
Well, very possible because and think about it logically. On an ICE vehicle, what do you have in the front? Most of your weight is in the engine, which sits in the front, and you have that great
yeah.
big heavy frame that helps you have the engine mounts and the frame and the radiator, and most of your vehicle weight is right there. So that's built up more than any place else.
Right, the frame has to be heavy, and it's a great place to attach something like a
Yeah.
snowplow attachment. But in an EV,
It's a frunk.
We've got a Giga casting.
Yeah, it's a Giga casting, and that's a frunk. It has nothing.
Yeah,
It's where you put your groceries or your little children.
yeah.
or
You don't
something
need
like
to
that.
beef up the front.
Wait, put your
suspension.
children. Wait a minute.
Oh, I didn't catch that. He caught that
Hold
right
on
away.
a second.
Oh, yeah. No, you would never put your little children in a frunk, but I had to say it.
Yeah. YouTube Highlander, he says, my sister in Michigan was going to buy a new Subaru, but after talking to me, she's looking at buying a Model Y. Well, I guess we've inspired you and the family, hopefully.
That's very cool. On TikTok, user 713 and a bunch of numbers says, or the new Volvo EX30 might hit Model Y sales a bit. It might, because the Volvo EX30 is supposed to have that same $30,000 price range.
Yeah, okay.
So then same user on TikTok says, oh yeah, you'll be able to put a top rack on the Cybertruck.
Okay.
So YouTube, then Brian Silver says, I talked the wife into going from a Ford Escape to a Model Y 2 years ago. I don't even get to drive it very often now. Brian, I think that's what would happen.
Oh, that's what happened to Doug Platten. You know, he got Sarah
That's
that
right.
Model 3, and he doesn't see it at all.
He doesn't. She loves driving it so much.
Yeah. Instagram, Time Superior, or FLM. I can't quite read that.
FLME, so superior.
He says, are the Roadster coming back? If you're talking about the Chinese Roadsters, they're already here, all three of them. And if you go to Roadsters for Sale on the Gruber Motors site, you can see the ongoing updates. They are currently being dispositioned, reverse engineered, and we're identifying what it's going to take to put these back into drivable condition. There was some rodent damage on one of them, for example.
And if you're talking about the general second generation Roadster, Tesla has announced that they are still working on it. They just haven't given any timeframes or promises.
Mm-hmm.
The latest rumors are that we're hoping to see something more by the end of 2024.
YouTube, Stephen Rose, he says, it was great seeing Victor on the podcast yesterday. Yes, we had Victor Vallanis, the Gruber Motor Company service manager, here joining us. He said that I met him when I bought my Model S batteries and for repair. I needed for my Porsche conversion. Okay, it was a great experience. I love how clean the shop was. And believe me, we work on that constantly. I was just over there yesterday and saying, guys, we can't leave rags on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, this is a different image that we're trying to project here. YouTube, Brian Silver says, naturally, the rack will have to be designed for the mounting points on the Cybertruck, but they will be available and a good welder can make his own. Good
I
point.
agree, Brian. On TikTok, Two Shades of Gray says, what is the schedule for your live, I'm going to assume, podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Our schedule is 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the EV podcast, 10 a.m. Wednesdays for the Roadster Roundtable. Now, this is a good time, too. We have the Gruber Power Services podcast on
Also
10 a.m. Fridays.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And starting this next Monday, I almost want to call them the Granddaddy podcast, the Gruber Companies, the GruberCom Products podcast is going to be kicking off.
It will be, Monday morning, where the first session will be to talk about history. We have a number of divisions here, and the com group here is the oldest one, really, where we manufacture data cabling products.
Yeah, stands for communications. We need to say that. Gruber Communications podcast.
Gruber Communications. Yes. And we are going to talk about history and then some of the products that we develop. Essentially, in a data center, our type of product is all throughout. It's from fiber optics to category cables to network furniture like racks and shelves and cable management panels. In the spaces like the office spaces, wall plates, jacks, anything that you need to connect a computer to your server room. And that division, we manufacture that type of product. So we're starting a podcast and a YouTube channel. So stay tuned. There'll be a lot of videos popping up. We'll do a lot of tutorial videos eventually. And yeah, it'll be a good time.
Looking forward to it.
Did want to say that we will not be having the Power podcast tomorrow.
True. Yes. The two presenters are on vacation. And so we will resume next Friday and continue the Gruber Power Services podcast next week.
Yes. Crunch to Grace Hopper on YouTube says, no super chats? I have a long one.
We have time? Probably not, right?
Well, Super Chat is a feature of YouTube where I think they can donate money or they pay for a longer chat or something like that. I'll have to look into see if we have Super Chats enabled.
Oh, okay. All right. TikTok. How did the unboxing of the Roadsters from overseas go? Again, I'll refer you to our website, Gruber Motors. Go to Roadsters for sale. And there's a long evolving story thread on the 3 Chinese Roadsters. We're not done yet. Probably be finishing up next week. YouTube Highlander, according to Zack and Jesse, now you know, you cannot mount a snowplow on the front of an F-150 Lightning. Yes, Ford has a small electric transit van. What's the number one in Europe? However, BYD is on their tail.
Wouldn't be surprised there in Europe. BYD has been identified from Elon Musk as his most significant competition.
It's the one he worries about the most?
Absolutely is the one that he worries about the most.
TikTok, MP 202021, R&D is their secret sauce, right? If we're talking about Tesla, that is correct. Tesla is not a car manufacturer. They are a tech company. They are bringing technological innovations almost on steroids to this planet and to our society.
Well, and if you hear Elon talk, you'll hear him say, we're not a car company. Our mission is not to bring cars to the world. Our mission is to convert the world to sustainable energy.
Good point. YouTube, William R. Thoroughly enjoy your podcasts on holidays, so I have time to listen to your podcasts. And, you know, William points out the fact that these are recorded. They're on YouTube. If you don't have time to get through one or you want to see the rest of it or you haven't seen them, you can go to YouTube. We also date and timestamp them, so the topics are generally in an index. So if there's a particular portion that you want to review or preview, you can do so. And that's what our social media team over there does, fast and furiously.
That's right. And William R. continues, he says, I worry I won't get anything done when I retire because I'll be spending a lot of time listening to your podcasts. Well, thank you.
That's quite flattering. Thank you. Yes. TikTok, Truck Guy 512, engine is for the top. Wait a minute. Engine is for the on-the-go changing systems. Oddly, it's a Cat engine, and a Caterpillar really got out of the road applications in 2009 with some exceptions.
He's talking about Edison Motors there, and that's very interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that they have some sort of a diesel engine in those big rigs because they're hauling logs. They're big. Those are big, heavy loads, and they're these guys at Edison. They're trying to figure everything out. Kind of like everybody else is. Nikola and Tesla have seemed to have the Class 8 truck figured out a little bit as well.
They also talk quite a bit on that podcast with Sandy about how much charging they're doing on the way down the hill because they're carrying logs that weigh literally tons.
Oh, yeah. That's that's one of the things. The country where I grew up was lumber country, so seeing the log trucks on the road was an everyday occurrence. You didn't even notice that there were so many of them on the road. Your typical tractor trailer setup, you have your truck and it's going to weigh 20,000 25,000 pounds. Your trailer's going to weigh another 12 or 13. and then you have about 40,000 to 44,000 pounds for cargo. These log trailers are nothing more than a single frame with a couple of U's, one in the front, one in the back. The trailer itself might only weigh 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. And then depending on the chatter that goes on in the CB radio between the truckers, they'll know whether or not they have the ability to overload or not that day, because they know who's out there inspecting and where they're at.
Yeah.
So it's not that uncommon to have one of these trucks throw 65,000 pounds of logs on the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a heck of a load.
I got a mental picture of the movie Christmas Vacation when Chevy Chase is driving along, passing one of the logging trucks, and he inadvertently pulls underneath one of those.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, remember that?
I do. YouTube, Crunch to Grace Hopper, in reference to the safety score hot tip. He says, I recently started sending safety camera recordings when calling in FSD complaints, and my safety score went from 63 to 100 in 2 weeks. And then I don't know what YMMV stands for. For example, he says, speed unsafely set to adjacent versus road ahead. So what he's doing is going on into his full self-driving, sending feedback to Tesla, complaining with complaints about what full self-driving is doing. And then, and I see this, for example, on even in my Volvo, but also on the Model S, the 202 South Mountain Freeway. It's an east and westbound road in the south edge of Phoenix. And as you're making the transition from southbound I-10 to the westbound 202, there's a group of roads that are just all right there. Sometimes the GPS gets confused, and the speed limit monitor on my car goes down to 25 miles an hour. Okay, well, now the car would think that I'm going 70 miles an hour in a 25 zone.
And it's affecting your safety rating, which then affects the insurance cost because it's tied to what your safety rating is. Interesting. This is the future, by the way.
So, and he talks about, and this is one of the things that we see when we're on autopilot, how the car would aggressively intervene to prevent crashes. Well, yeah, if you're going 75 in a 25 zone and you're coming up on a car, it's going to think differently than it would if it realized you were on the freeway.
And I think Doug does. The final question is, does anybody out there have their Tesla insurance tied to their safety score? I think Doug does. And he's very conscientious about maintaining a safety rating to keep the cost in line.
That's right. Yeah. So yes, we have Doug Platten, who has had worked with us. He works with a local city now.
When his wife lets him drive the Model 3, by the way.
When his wife, she's the one that keeps the safety score. So yes, we do know somebody that does that.
Pete, I got your on the TV right now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
the little gift from that scene.
And then when he finally ejects, he ends up in a pile of snow.
You know, the funny thing about that particular trailer is that's not a standard log trailer.
Oh, it's not.
You had to cut that rail, that safety rail.
Right.
That's literally a group of logs that are probably tied together where we can't see, with the front end of the logs sitting on the front and the back end of the logs sitting on that back. There is no tie between the front and back on that trailer.
Hollywood trickery.
Oh, absolutely. It's awesome. Neil has another comment for us. This one is to William. He says, of course, if the Gruber podcasts were at the end of the American workday, then you could both work and watch.
True. Good point.
All our podcasts are out there for any time you want to watch them.
So YouTube, Peter L. says, e-Sprinter should be out soon. That one looks like a winner. 250 miles range, 14 feet long on cargo space.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that extra piece of information. I don't remember who makes the Sprinter right off the top of my head.
Mercedes-Benz.
Okay, Mercedes makes the Sprinter. Okay.
The reason I know that is we had a Roadster customer pipe up and said, You know, I finally found the original Tesla Roadster rear view mirror. They're all delaminating.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And we have a version that's a little bit wider but not precise. And you have to change the little mounting metal that goes on the windshield. So you have
Right.
to heat that up and take that off and re-epoxy and all that. He actually found that the e-sprinters or the sprinter vehicles for the last decade use that same mirror. And you can get that off Amazon even. So
That's wild. Highlander says to Crunch, super chats cost money. I'm Scottish. We don't spend money.
good one. TikTok Truck Guy 512 says, curious with your experience, can you use the EV battery to run hydraulics for length and maintain battery? I don't know what length and maintain battery means.
I'm not sure right off the top of my head.
Now, if the question is, can it power other things in the vehicle, you know, like the electric motors on a plow, let's say, not easily. It's 400 volts, first of all. And, you know, most of these DC devices are 12 volts because that's what traditionally vehicles have had available. So, yeah, not easily would be my answer, if that's the question.
And then Niels has a comment back and says, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, very true. What do you think? We're running out of topics and we're running out of time.
Yeah, I think we're actually past time by just a little bit. So, guys, it's been a great podcast again. We love the comments. Thank you guys so much for that.
And again, tomorrow, no GPS podcast. Sunday, we'll be doing some AI podcasts. And, you know, every week we get a collection of topics that are just mind-blowing. And I always think, are we going to have enough to talk about? And then during the week, you start collecting them.
Yeah.
And there is some really cool stuff. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, give you a quick example, feels that we may have finally reached immortality, that AI will be capable of recreating our relatives after they're gone, and so convincingly that it will not be able to pass the Turing test, where we can tell that that isn't the same uncle that we were used to.
Wow.
Anyway, good stuff. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Take care.